Morning. My name's Alan Hart, and today we've got an emergency boiler swap. I had a text message yesterday on New Year's Day and saying that they needed a new boiler. So just got Luke here bringing us the supplies for breakfast for today. I've got Luke with me as well today. Just see Luke there. And I've got Joanne there as well. Look. You alright, Joanne? Luke as well. Everybody's up this morning, so yeah, I'll show you this boiler shortly. So as I said, this is an emergency job, and I put a shout out yesterday onto Gas Chat, onto the group that I'm on Facebook, just to see what merchants are open today. And obviously it were New Year's Day yesterday, and it's Saturday today, so a lot of the merchants are closed. So All About Gas in Dewsbury, Tim put a message on New Year's Day saying that they were open, so we're here. Tim, an independent local merchant, amazing guy. He helped us a lot when we were doing his charity installs, provided a boiler for us at one point. So if anybody's in Dewsbury area, give them a shout, give them a come and see them, and yeah, buy some off them. Right, okay, I'm just going to shoot in here now. I'm going to get this boiler. Right, Tim, Happy New Year. How you doing?
You
just on YouTube. How you doing?
Yeah, very well. You good self.
I was just going to pick that boiler up.
Yeah,
no Viessmann 100.
Yeah, no problem.
Nice one.
Viessmann 100, complete with standard Flue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cheers.
No
Thank you. Tim's just getting his boiler now. I'll just show you the back of my van. It's a right mess. Been off. I'm just throwing it all in this morning. So this is an old British Gas van. I've been asked loads of times about looking in my van. So obviously I've got my step ladders there. We've got us hop up, and then it's got all its drawers and stuff like that in here. Really good van this. And then it's got, when we go inside, it's got all little compartments. It's a bit wet in here, like. In fact, that's frozen. That's ice. Right, let's get his boiler. Tim's just getting his boiler here. I'd give you hand, Tim, but I just thought I'd video you instead.
Well, that's okay. Yeah, just don't let the other staff that it was CD doing this.
It is like 7:30 in the morning. Thanks, Tim.
Not a problem.
Absolutely amazing service here. Got the boiler in now. Now we're going to go over to Old Woodley in Leeds, and we're going to go and install this boiler. So yeah, let's go and have a look. Just take the boiler in now. The customer's had quite a lot of issues with this. It's not really been serviced that well for quite a long time, and recently it's had the new burner seal. It's had a full strip down and a burner seal done by another company. It's also had a new circuit board installed. It's also had a leaking left-hand block and flow turbine adapter as well on the right-hand side. So they have spent quite a lot of money on this, but the boiler is still got a fault on it, which I'll show you that fault shortly. So the boiler's done very well for the age, really. It's probably about 15, 16, 17 years old. So it's done okay. So as always, when you're going to work on a boiler, make sure that you do all your safety checks, all your electrical checks, all your gas checks. Make sure you're safe. We have done a full video on the technical bulletin, TB118. So if you search for that, you'll see how to do these checks. We've made sure it's all safe now. We've isolated the electrics. We're just draining it down now. On the Worcester Bosch boiler, it's got a really good drain off. So I'm just going to drain it from the boiler on this. And then what we'll do, while this is draining, we can go do the tightness test for the gas. And then we can strip this boiler, get this boiler off. And then we can install the new boiler on the wall. We've just got Luke doing a tightness test on this. We're just going to do a let by test first. Just turn that up, Luke. I'm going to try and get this. We've got a test door. Try and get that between 7 and 10. for his let by, and then we'll do his let by for 1 minute, and then once we've done that we'll raise it up to between 20 and 21 for the rest of his test. And we've got it to 9.3 millibar, and we need to do this between 7 and 10 millibar, and then we'll test this now for 1 minute. And things we're looking out for on this, well, is it supported? It's not level, but it is actually supported. It has got some screws in back there. Bonding, we've got his bonding there, and it's within before the first tee. You can see our regulator. It's got the seal on top. It's got the emergency number label on there. Always remember, if you're going to work on a gas appliance, you must be gas safe registered or competent to do so, or you must be working with somebody who is competent or gas safe registered. So we've now raised the pressure. You want this now to be between 20 and 21 millibar, and then we're going to test it for 1 minute for the temperature stabilisation, and then we will test it then for a further 2 minutes for the test. I just wanted to quickly talk about let by and what let by is. I was asked this question by one of the trainees. Let by is if at the gas meter, the gas valve at the gas meter, the emergency control valve, if that was passing, that's what we're checking for. There is another way that you could do. So you could disconnect the top of the valve, you could take the anaconda off and you could spray that, and you could test it like that as well. Obviously, if that was passing, then that's down to the emergency control provider, the transporter, if you like. Transco it used to be called. I'm not sure what it's called these days, but that's when you'd phone the 0800 111 999, and then you'd get them to come out and sort that out for you. But that's what let by is, and that's what you're testing for. Let's go back to this video. So I've just removed the flue elbow off the top of the boiler, and as you can see on here, there's an issue with the flue, and what's been happening is the flue seal, the one in the middle there, has been leaking, and it's been dripping down onto the one below, and then that's then in turn been going inside the boiler, and then what that's done, that's actually shorted the gas valve out inside the boiler. If you have a look at back there, you can just see, just faintly, some water lines just at back there. And what's been happening with this, water's been, well, it's actually condensate. It's been running in, coming inside boiler, it's been getting into this plug on back, and then that's been shorting the gas valve out. But what's happening is the boiler works, and then once enough water gets in there, then it shorts the boiler out. Customers even made me a latte. Look at that. You need to remember to take this clip out so you can disconnect the expansion vessel on these. So we've drained the boiler down now. We've turned the mains off. We've emptied the cold water out of the system, opened the taps. We've checked the gas. We've done safety checks, etc, etc. And now we've lifted the boiler off the wall. And very often on these, the expansion vessel is full of water, so you need just to put a bucket underneath and just let it drip into the bucket. Just got Luke's just holding it for me here. We're installing a Viessmann 100 on this job, and this boiler comes with a 12-year parts and labour warranty. Just installing the bracket. They're quite a heavy boiler, these, and they've got some big, I think they're M10 bolts that go into the wall. So I'm just putting bracket on now and levelling this up so boiler's level when it's on the wall. I've put the manufacturer's bolts in on this, and I've also added a few extra screws as well. What you don't want to happen is the boiler fall off the wall. Obviously that would be a disaster. I'll just show you this. This is a little bit of a nightmare because I've got to put a filter in on this, and it's got the T's right next to the boiler, so we're going to have to chop the pipework back on this. One of the most important parts of the job, in my opinion, is actually flushing the system. So I will always flush the system on every single job. It depends on, I'll flush it in different ways, but afterwards I'll also test it with the AD Pro check, and then you can prove that you've flushed it correctly and you've tested it as well. But just a little tip, what I do, what I'll do is, not on this particular job because of the tees, it just made it awkward, but before you even remove the boiler, what you can do, if you cut the pipework underneath, obviously you've drained it all down and things like that, if you make a little jig up, you can make a little bit of speed fit, and you can connect it to the flow and the code, and then connect your hose pipe to the return and put that out to a drain. And then you can also swap that round as well, so you can put the code mains going into the flow and then coming out of the return, whichever way around. And then what you can do, you've still got the old boiler on the wall, but then you can be flushing it. You can be doing a mains flush. So then you've got then probably a couple of hours taking the old boiler off, putting your new boiler on, running your gas, and then you can disconnect that, pipe the boiler up, obviously put your filter on and things like that, and you've given the boiler a good chance of the system being clean. I'm not saying that will replace a power flush, but in some cases it will, and it will get a lot of the muck out of the system to start with. Obviously, the most important part of the job, as I always will say, is how clean the system is. So you wouldn't put old engine oil in a new car. So just try your best to flush it as good as you possibly can. Let's go back to this video. I've lifted the new boiler on the wall now. Just check that it's level. So you can see that it's level. And this is the Viessmann 100 Combi boiler, and it's a 30 kilowatt Combi boiler, this one. And as I said previously, it's got a 12-year parts and labour warranty. When we look at the old flue hole, we can see it's been core drilled, but it's very, very steep angle. And this is probably the reason the old boiler, or almost definitely why the old boiler had issues. I've just put the new flue in there just to show you. Hopefully you can see how steep that angle is. Obviously we're going to have to cut this flue down, and we're going to have to alter the brickwork on the flue. So you could see how steep that flue was. Now what we need to do, we need to make sure that the location of the flue, so it's quite close to the opening or the patio doors. So one thing we need to make sure is, if we imagine that's the patio doors, I'm not the best drawer in the world, and imagine this is the flue, we need to have a minimum of 150mm there. So 15 centimetres, 150mm from a structure, so an opening in a structure. We also need to have 300mm minimum from, if it was a door, so where the door part is, if the flue was here, this bit, we'd need 300mm clearance from there for the flue. And also one thing to point out as well, if it were less than 2 metres, we'd also need to put a terminal guard on as well. Let's go back to this video. Always make sure you read and follow the installation instructions for the boiler, and that'll tell you all about the flues and everything that you need to know about installing the boiler correctly. Just letting Luke put one of the clips on here, just have a little go of it. I've heated the pipe up and I've cleaned it off with wire wool, and then I've marked it with a pen. We're going to use press fit on this job. We've just got a gas press fit in here, and again I've marked the pipe that's going in. We've got the press fit and we've got a yellow O-ring in that press fit. So this is specially designed for gas. And then all we need to do is we just push the fitting together, check the O-ring, make sure the O-ring's okay, and then we can just press that onto there with the press fit machine. Really easy, no mess, so you're not putting any flux or any rubbish into the pipe work. It makes it easier for flushing as well when you're doing water parts. I've installed a drain off here, and this is on the flow pipe. It's a little bit awkward on this one, but this is on the floor because I've had to tee it in next to the boiler. And what we can do with this is we can put an hose pipe on there, and if we use the filling loop, we can use the water, cold mains going in, filling, it'll go all the way around the system, and then it will come out of the drain off if we've put an hose pipe on here. So we can fully flush the system, mains flush. Obviously we'd need to isolate underneath the boiler on the flow pipe. We can then close the drain off, and then we can use the hose pipe. I use a washing machine connector, and we can then connect that onto the Fernox filter. So this is the Fernox Omega filter, and you can close the isolation valve on the filter there, and then you can again put your cold water, open your filling loop, fully open, cold water going into the heating system, going all the way around the floor on the heating system, and then going all the way around the heating. So you've got cold water going in, and then it's going to go all the way around, and it's going to come out on the filter. And then I've just got a washing machine trap here, so I can just flush it really easy. I'm just going to test the gas pressure now coming into the boiler, and just make sure that the gas sizing is correct. We'll also gas rate it as well later. The Viessmann 100 has a very nice touchscreen display. So if we just click into mode and scroll down, we can click into service, click OK, and then we can scroll that up to 100%. And then we just click OK, and then click OK again. And that'll go on to high, so we can test to make sure that we've got the correct inlet pressure. And we can see there that we've got 19.24 millibar. So we're happy with that. Obviously we check the installation instructions to see what the manufacturers allow. We're also going to check or test the emissions with the flue gas analyzer. Now I would normally do this with the case on, but again, please refer to the manufacturer's installation instructions for that. And we can see that this is an acceptable reading for the high reading. And now we can test the low setting. So if we go back to service, go down to low, and this will give us the low reading. As I said, I'd normally do this with the case on. Always check the installation instructions to make sure that you're doing this in the correct order and how the manufacturers say that you should be doing it. We also need to check the flue integrity. So this is the air test on the flue. So this is the air intake test. And you want to make sure you've got no readings on there, and you want the oxygen level to be the same level as what you've got outside. Keep your analyzer outside. As I say, you normally do this with the case on. And then to bring it back out of service mode, if you go back to service, and then you click on the OK, and you see we've got it in 100 because we've been checking the air integrity. We scroll it back down to off, click OK twice, and then you've come out of service mode. Really easy to do. One thing that's really easy to do as well is if you close the valves on the filter, you can actually turn the filter upside down. And Fernox do a little express bottle, a little small bottle, and you can use that. You can pour your F1 into the system. What I actually do is I pour my F1 in, and then I'll connect that back up, I'll let it run round the system, and then I'll pour another bottle in as well. On every install we do, we'll use the AD Pro Check now, and we'll take a water sample. So we've let the inhibitor run around the system, and then we'll take a water sample to prove that when we installed the boiler, it was installed correctly. I have done a full video on the AD Pro Check, so if you want to see more about that, if you just type that into YouTube, and then hopefully you'll see my video. On this particular job, you can see that the water sample we've taken, you can see that it's passed. This is an AD product, but it does test for other manufacturers' inhibitors. So you can see that it's passed for inhibitor, corrosion and pH. And inhibitor level OK, system is protected, no further action required. Corrosion level is low, no further action required. pH OK, no further action required. And to top the pressure up on this boiler, if the pressure was low, we've got a filling loop underneath, so it's got built-in filling loop. So you'd open the valve on the left hand side, and this would allow the mains water pressure to go around this copper pipe here and to the return on the heating to fill the heating. So if you open the valve then, and then you top the pressure up to around 1 bar, so it's a bit high at the moment, and then you just turn them back off again, but you want it about 1 bar. So as I say, you want it about 1 bar or whatever the manufacturer's instructions say for that particular boiler. So there are some boilers that need more than 1 bar. Some boilers need like 1.2 for pressure switch to activate. So you would need to check with the installation instructions for that. On this job, we also use for the condensate. Obviously I didn't have time to, I was trying to fit a boiler and do a bit of videoing. We also use the Condensate Pro for the condensate. So that's lagging, and that's to protect the boiler from freezing later on. We also installed a Nest on this job as well. The customer wanted a Nest learning thermostat. We also did that on this job as well. Yeah, I've tried to cover as much as I can in this video. If you've got any questions, or if you've got any recommendations or any ideas for future videos, or if there's any types of videos you would like me to cover, I'll try my best to do what I can. And please put some comments below, and I will try my best to answer every single comment. I do try and do that with all my videos. Yeah, I hope this has been useful, and if you're training to be a gas engineer and you're watching my videos, please always read the installation instructions. Try and get as much experience as you can. Take things apart that you don't need to use again, so like old boilers, etc. And then, like for instance with fans or gas valves, you can then test them with multimeter. You could always phone the manufacturers as well, and you could ask them what the readings need to be. So then when you go back to college or you go back on your training course, you'll have a much better understanding of what you're doing, because you physically had it in your hand. And personally, when I just see things in a book, it don't click with me. I can't really understand it that much. So I need to balance that with actually having things in my hand, taking it apart and understanding it, and then also doing the training as well. And then that's the way I learn. People might be different. Some people can read books and then they're amazing just by reading a book. Unfortunately, I'm dyslexic, so reading a book is more difficult for me. Obviously I do a really good job, but that's because I just try my best, and do the best job I can. Anyway, as I say, if you've got any questions, please ask them in the comments below. Happy New Year to everybody who helps and supports, and anybody who watches my videos anyway. Happy New Year, and thanks for watching.